this again, of course, but yesterday report named the Dolphins front runner in trade talks for Deshaun Watson. Your reaction, and are you and Greer still pursuing Deshaun Watson?
Reports, speculation, not things we really get into. Look, I understand the question, but as I've said in the past, any conversations that we have or don't have with other clubs are going to be internal. I've been pretty steadfast about that with our players, with other clubs, and that'll remain the case.
Could you address your confidence in Tua, and did you have to address it with him? Did you have any talks with him?
I'm very confident in Tua. He's done a lot of good things this spring, this offseason, this training camp. Played well last week. And again, my conversations with the players, are going to always remain between me and that player. So I talk to a lot of players every day. Obviously, I spend a lot of time with the quarterbacks. But yeah, those conversations will remain between myself and that player.
Coach Flo doing the best he can to keep both hands attached to the podium so he doesn't give a stray. Those conversations are going to remain private. It's not tampering to come out and say we are not going to trade for Deshaun Watson. We have no interest in Deshaun Watson. Now, it's still the safest and smartest thing to do when something like this comes up is to say, we're not going to talk about it one way or the other. Whether we had conversations or didn't have conversations, whether we have interest or whether we don't have interest, we're not going to talk about it. But this isn't just a tampering safe harbor. If you're not interested, you can say, I'm not interested. We're not interested. We're not going there. Look, the Dolphins are the team that has emerged as the focal point of the possibility of a trade. And I'll peel back the curtain a little bit. I can't name my sources, but I had somebody that I've known for a long time and that I trust who has a very high position with a team in the NFL who said to me Saturday, keep an eye on Deshaun Watson. Something is going on.
Sure.
And then somebody with another team who is very high up, who I've known for a long time, and I obviously can't name names, said, hey, this is going to happen. It's going to be the Panthers or the Dolphins, but it's going to happen. It's like, holy crap. Now, I didn't couch it that way. All I said is chatter is building in league circles that a trade's going to happen, and the Dolphins and the Panthers are the two candidates to watch. And look, here's what it comes down to. The Texans have to decide what to do with this guy. They're not going to make him play if he doesn't want to play. They're not going to force him onto the field. So, you have to ask yourself if you're the Texans, Chris, do we pay him $10.54 million this year to not play and trade him after the season, or do we trade him now for whatever we can get? We'd like to get 3 1s and 2 2s. Okay, that's fine. I'd like a lot of things I'm not going to get.
That's right.
And you got a better chance of getting it after the season after you've paid him $10.5 million.
That's right.
But if you want to avoid paying him $10.5 million, and if there are elements in your organization that just want this guy out of here because of the allegations pending against him, at some point you just got to take what you can get.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, yeah. I mean, as we talked about, I think a few weeks ago, if they want to maximize, then yeah, wait till after the season. If you want to maximize your value and what you get back, no doubt that's the way to go. Like you said, you lay it out, but within that, you're going to have to take your lumps. Every time there's a Deshaun Watson bad news, something like that, it's going to be the Houston Texans logo next to it and all those type of things. Do the Texans want to deal with that? Yeah, do they want to deal with continuing to answer these questions? And like you said, just like this dark, rainy cloud kind of hovering over their organization. I'm with you, Mike. You know this. I was saying back in the late spring, I was hearing, I know the Dolphins want Deshaun Watson. They want him. I know from multiple people, like who I trust, who are big sources in the league. Right. So that is a real thing. It's been going on all offseason. We played Brother from Another with Michael Smith, in one of our commercial breaks there. I mean, that's the story he told is a story you hear around the league, that Nick Casario's been very inconsistent with taking calls, really engaging in serious questions, kind of going off the radar at times, and people are like, wait, I thought we were supposed to talk today. What happened? So, I'm hearing all those stories. You've heard all those stories. I don't know where it goes. It's interesting nonetheless that Miami's still, apparently involved in this whole thing, this close to the season, all those things, because you go, wait, he hasn't played preseason football. Wait, are they really going to bring him in there and just let him take over the team? And I would say, yes, they are. Because here's the other thing that goes in their advantage. Their offensive coordinator is George Godsey. His best buddy in the world is Billy O'Brien. I mean, Deshaun Watson's not going to have to learn a new offense when he goes to when he goes to Miami, excuse me. It'll be the same offense he ran in Houston. So that will be seamless transition, and that's another thing just to look for if it does happen. But I'm with you. I don't know. I don't know if it does happen, because if I'm the Dolphins or one of them, I'm not trading away 3 first-round picks and 2 twos right now with the uncertainty of the future of Deshaun Watson, even though I know he's awesome and one of the best players in football.
You've got an interesting stew of personalities in Houston that ultimately are going to make this call. And you mentioned Nick Caserio. Look, sometimes good strategy, good negotiation involves being unpredictable, erratic, inconsistent. You're trying to rattle the other side. At the end of the day, Caserio wants to get what he wants or as close to it as he possibly can. If he knows that a decision has already been made above him in the hierarchy, that we are not going to pay Deshaun Watson to not play this year. That's the one thing we don't know. For all the dysfunction that the Texans have emanated over the course of the last year, they have kept extremely close to the vest this fundamental question of whether or not owner Cal McNair, as advised by Jack Easterby, will or won't happily pay Deshaun Watson $10.54 million to not play football this year. And when you look at it from Cal McNair's perspective, he's not a football guy. He didn't buy the team, found the team. He inherited the team. He's running the team. His father passed. We don't know yet the full body of how he's going to behave as an owner, but it's very easy for someone who is in McNair's position to say, why am I paying this guy we just gave this guy a huge contract last year. We gave him a big signing bonus. He doesn't want to be here. We're reluctant to tell him you have to play. Well, I'm not paying this guy to not play. End of story. Look, hey, Nick, do whatever you have to do. But I'm not paying Deshaun Watson $10.5 million to not play football, make me look like a schmuck.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. We don't know that. If that mindset exists at the top of the organization, then yeah, a trade is going to happen because the owner is saying, trade this guy, I'm not paying his salary. And the fact that it bubbled up on Saturday means there's talking.
Sure.
There's negotiating.
Yeah.
Something's happening.
Right.
And it was enough on Saturday to make people think that it was going to end in a deal. And what happens? Word gets out, everybody backs off. It's not midnight yet, though. Midnight comes tomorrow into Wednesday because what they have to do, put him on the 53-man roster, and then you can put him on injured reserve after that where he could be called back from injured reserve if they want to trade him later. And then it all comes down to, are they willing to cut him game checks, Chris, if he's not playing? And if they're not willing to do that, they will trade him. If they are willing to do it, then they can trade him in March when maybe they could get closer to what they want.
Well, I want to ask you this, like with the, you make, like, I don't want to, like you reference, like, I don't want to look like a schmuck for paying the guy $10 million, right? Do you think, though, he has more fear of looking like a schmuck and trading him away, and he got to just leave town at his say, and now he's playing somewhere else? Does he more worried about looking like a schmuck that way than the way you're talking about? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there because that would probably scare me a little bit as an owner too, right?
I think the way you avoid it,
yeah,
and apparently that the two sides can't yet come to any sort of consensus here, the fair way to do it is to tie the draft picks to how many games Deshaun Watson is available to play. This year, that determines the 2022 draft picks. Next year, that determines the draft picks in 2023, and even the year beyond that. This can last for a while. You can go 3 years out with the draft picks you give up. Now, the Dolphins or any other team may not want to tie up conditional picks because then all those picks are kind of frozen in place. If it's a 3 that can become a 1, your 1, your 2, your 3 are locked up. You can't do any business with those picks because you don't know which pick you're ultimately going to have to give to the Texans. But that's the fair way to do it. And that's always been the sensible approach here because there is uncertainty from the 22 civil lawsuits, from the 10 criminal complaints that are destined to go to a grand jury. Then there's this vague FBI investigation that's either looking into Watson or looking into one of his accusers. We don't know. But until the criminal cases are resolved, you're accepting a risk that you're not going to have Deshaun Watson. And there's a way the dominoes fall where he gets convicted and he's in prison.
Yeah.
And you get nothing for your investment. So, look, yeah, and I think, and I've heard from enough people that I can't say there's nothing to this. The idea that Nick Caserio, all of the former Belichick lieutenants are always very sensitive of what Bill's going to think about the deals they do, the decisions they make. It's this weird dynamic where you just, what does Bill think? That Caserio has been very sensitive to doing a bad deal and have Bill, kind of, I can't believe that. That's part of this too. So there's a lot of different personalities that are going to drive this decision. But there's a deal there to be made if the two sides are willing to find a way to reach a middle ground. Chris.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think Bill's going to scoff at any deal that involves Watson going to the Dolphins. He's going to tell him that's not a good
don't
deal.
Do that. That's a bad
not a
deal.
Good one. You
what
need
are you
more
thinking?
first-round picks.
I like the Panthers offer better.
Yeah, right. All right, let me ask you this one too, because this is just another thing that kind of went through my brain over this weekend. We talk about the Texans being able to maximize, right? Maybe after the year the most, but at the same time, and again, you're going to be able to answer this better than me. Is it risky too? Like, okay, I mean, yeah, at some point, right? They got to weigh that risk as well to go, wait, we could go to the offseason and things still not be figured out. And we could go into another year where we might be on the hook having to pay this guy and not know what the hell is going to happen. So,
excellent point.
Right? I would think you got to balance that out in your brain a little bit at some point and just can't be too greedy for what you're asking for here, especially to what you said. You want to get the guy out of here and you've had enough. So that's where it's an interesting situation, and I'm going to be interested to see how Caserio handles this.
Here's why that's such a great point, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because someone pointed out to me, it's not the $10.5 million this year, it's the $35 million next year.
Right.
That really has people freaked out about the possibility of this continuing and lasting into 22, where if he's on paid leave or you've put him on ice on injured reserve because you want to wait and see how it goes, that's a risk the Texans are taking, and that's a risk whoever would take him on will be taking.
Right.
And as someone explained it to me yesterday, the Texans are playing a game of chicken here with the Deshaun Watson contract. And if no one is willing to play ball, they're stuck with his contract for this year. And then come March, there's no guarantee there's going to be greater clarity. And it may be we're exactly where we are now,
yeah, right.
And no one's willing to give you 3 1s and 2 2s, and you're going to have to pay him $45 million for the privilege of eventually trading him. And money becomes draft picks. Remember, the Texans were the first team to do it, where you basically you give up a second-round pick to offload $16 million. You gave up a second-round pick to avoid paying someone $16 million. Well, that's part of this transaction. You're avoiding paying Deshaun Watson $10 million, maybe $45 million. That's part of the value that the Dolphins are taking on. That's why 3 1s and 2 2s is never going to fly.
I wouldn't think
with
so.
This uncertainty lingering.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. So Caserio's got to find the sweet spot of, where is it that, okay. I mean, again, I don't know. If I'm the Dolphins or one of those teams and they just go, wait, 2 2s and 2 1s, we might be talking business. 3 1s is a different story. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot to give up. It really is, for uncertainty. I mean, when you get to that, like 2 2s and some uncertainty, I perk up in my seat and start to go, damn, okay, hold on, let me think about this a little bit. And I wonder where that fine line is for both teams to where they can go, wait, we won on both, and feel good about it for both clubs.
Here's my proposal to the Dolphins, the Texans, or anyone else out there that wants to try to get Houston's attention. For 2022, if he's available to play in 8 games or fewer, you get a third-round pick. If he's available to play between 9 and 13 games, you get a second-round pick. If he's available to play for 13 or more games, you get a first-round pick. Same formula next year, same formula the year after. Availability to play, not injured, but available to play. As far as the league is concerned, that drives the pick, because at some point when the dust settles on the prosecution, the civil cases, he's going to be suspended for the behaviors that resulted in this. If you look at the Ben Roethlisberger precedent,
That's right.
and I think Watson's camp is bracing for 6 to 8 games.
Right.
At some point, he's going to be wiped out for a period of time. That takes all that into account. Plays out over 3 years. And I think that's the fairest outcome, and it's the simplest outcome for everyone involved. Problem is, if you're the team that's trading for him, you're setting aside your top 3 draft picks for the next 3 seasons. You can't do business with any of them by way of trade because you got to see how the Watson stuff plays out. But if you want him, I think it's the fair way to work it out. We'll see if they can work something out between now, tomorrow, or the day after that when they'd have to put Watson on injured reserve to have 53 guys on the roster instead of 52 plus a guy who isn't playing.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.